And another sportsman from the southeast to make it big during the 80s was Sean Treacy from Villierstown in County Waterford. And Waterford City honoured him too.
World cross-country champion John Treacy from Villierstown has become the most recent freeman of Waterford. At a special ceremony in the city, 22-year-old Treacy was greeted by the same loud cheers that sent him over the winning line at Limerick last March to become the world champion for the second time. Many of Ireland's top sporting personalities and thousands of Waterford people gathered at the City Hall to pay tribute to Treacy, who was officially greeted there by the Mayor, Stephen Rogers. But later, inside the hall, Treacy signed his name alongside those of Presidents De Valera and of Kelly, as well as Cardinals Brown and Conway, to become the 19th freeman of the city. In a short speech, Treacy thanked the people of Waterford for bestowing this special honour on him. But far from resting on his laurels, John Treacy is now about to start serious training for the defence of his world title at the 1980 cross-country championships in France next spring.
RTE is, of course, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting, but as an organisation, we're merely a pup, as they say, compared to some. Waterford Chamber of Commerce, for instance, was this year celebrating its 200th anniversary. And that comes at an exciting time in the life of Waterford City, when it's enjoying something of a breakthrough, with tens of millions of pounds being invested in the city centre in projects like this behind, and also in the new regional hospital project, which is under construction in the city even at this moment. Now, all that has given the city physically a new heart, of course, but also an economic boost and a great psychological boost. We've reported on most of the major events to mark the Chamber's special year, and we've drawn some of those together by way of a salute, our salute, to the Chamber and the city. Through the centuries, Waterford has made its living of trade, under sail and later steam, plying its produce like bacon, beef, fish, butter and grain from the earliest days. The owners and men as familiar with names and places like Newfoundland as with New Ross. And out of that grew an association of businessmen set up to fight the problems of piracy on the high seas and of smuggling which hit their trade at home. That association was to become the Chamber of Commerce, now 200 years old. So it was fighting the city's corner before the French Revolution, before the Rising of '98. At today's press conference, the Chamber launched a series of events to celebrate its birthday, ranging over the cultural, social and economic promotion spheres. And the leaders of business in the city drew a picture of Waterford's state of health economically and its needs for the future. IDA Regional Manager Frank Burke said that factories like this had helped the city exceed all expectations in recent times. That was after the trauma of the 70s and early 80s. Waterford now had the most modern manufacturing base in the country, producing everything from crystal, of course, to optics, electronics, auto parts, and jet engine components. James Kennedy is Vice President of the Chamber.
Well, we need continued work on the infrastructure. We're getting better roads, better telecommunications, and that needs to continue. We're looking at a new 4-lane highway, and all of that work needs to continue. Also, in terms of third-level education, we have had degree courses being added locally, and we need to see more of that happening, because for the new type of company coming in, they need this input from third-level education.
And the city's mayor, Councillor Brian Swift, said that inner city redevelopment and infrastructural development were at an unprecedented pitch, with new roads, water systems and so on being installed in recent times. £50 million was about to be spent on a new regional hospital. £10 million was to go on new office and retail buildings. And the charm of the city was being heightened with pedestrian ways like this. It makes for a more pleasant city and draws tourists too. Charlie Boland is chairman of the South East Regional Tourism Organisation.
I think we'll put 85 and 86 behind us. We just won't experience that type of weather again. I know that. I say that with confidence. But outside of that, it isn't all about weather. It's about friendliness, warmth. It's about the old traditional Irish exciting product that has always been there. The Irish welcome. Ireland of the welcomes.
But sophisticated industries like this need services. The future development of the city's airport, for instance. And the lack of central government support for that airport, which is now running successfully anyway, That lack of support still rankles locally, as Chamber President Nicky Fuhr told the press conference.
Waterford Regional Airport is seen as being a very good example of a successful self-help programme. I say that with an air of contempt. We have a situation again where approximately £190,000 was collected from the business people of Waterford to develop the necessary facilities and to install navigational aids. Since the runway was completed, we have invested that £190,000. We have received £20,000 from the government. This surely is totally inequitable.
And he said there were other keys to further growth, which they wanted central government support on. A new third-level education institution, for instance. And with an election coming on, maybe this was the opportunity they needed.
We will call on our public representatives to demand further development for our city in order that it can be developed as the undisputed regional centre of the South East. In the past, we have missed many opportunities which has resulted in, for example, losing the headquarters of the South Eastern Health Board, Kilkenny. I would state that we would be ever vigilant to prevent such a recurrence in our city.
And to show that they knew there was more to a city's life than just commerce, the Chamber put up a bursary for a Waterford girl to pursue her opera studies. The splendour of what is probably Waterford's most magnificent Georgian house, the home of the city's Chamber of Commerce, was the setting for Waterford opera student Anne Millay to demonstrate the voice which the Chamber is to help bring to full flowering. As part of its Bi-Centennial celebrations, the Chamber has awarded Anne a bursary to help her complete her studies and make a career of her talent. Those studies are expensive, and Anne was finding it practically impossible to get sponsorship from industry when the Chamber stepped in and rescued the situation. Part of her thanks was to let the Chamber directors hear the voice they are now backing. A lovely and a powerful voice. But what led the Chamber to offer Anne the bursary as part of its Bicentenary celebrations? Chamber of Commerce Bicentenary Committee Chairman, Jack Deavy.
Well, we were conscious that we are a Chamber of Commerce, and naturally our bias would normally be towards industry and commerce, but we felt that to celebrate a thing like a Bicentenary, it was important that we come away from that or concentrate on other things as well as industry and commerce. And we were very, very happy to find a Waterford-born student of such immense potential as Anne Millay, with whom we could associate in this bursary.
So you wanted to be seen as part of the total life of the city and not just of the commercial aspect of it?
Absolutely, the totality of Waterford. We wanted to associate with that.
Taking that broader view, what do you think that this kind of activity on your part in the Chamber does for the city as a whole?
I think perhaps it makes the city aware that there are people in the city who have the chance to become internationally known stars, as I think Anne Millay will in due course. She's an extremely promising student, as you heard her singing beautifully there earlier today.
The city has something to sing about.
I'm quite sure of it.
And turning out to support and accompany Anne was Eric Sweeney, himself a prominent composer and performer, founder of the Waterford College Choir and Orchestra and head of music at Waterford's RTC, helping along the talent which might have been lost for want of money.
Well, I just didn't have the money. All the fees had to be paid by August, and I just had absolutely no money at all for any of the fees. And this just came in the nick of time, really.
So it's very knife-edge stuff.
It certainly is. In another sense, I was lucky that I was from Waterford, in that I was the only person really here studying singing, and the Chamber of Commerce this year have very kindly helped me, but before that the Waterford Rotary Club have been very good to me indeed and helped me to pay my fees. So
had you been from Dublin or anywhere else, what would it?
Yes, I think it would have been more difficult because there are lots of other singers around, and it's just very difficult for somebody to make sure that they grab the sponsorship that's going. And I was very lucky that being from Waterford, I think I had an advantage, really.
200th anniversary of the Chamber is obviously a big event in the life of the city of Waterford itself, but it took on visible national status, if you like, when An Post issued a stamp to commemorate the event. Time rolled back 200 years in Waterford Port today with the reconstruction of a dockside scene which would have been common when the city's Chamber of Commerce was founded. Amongst its concerns then was to stamp out smuggling and piracy. And the chairman of An Post, Fergal Quinn, in the city to launch a stamp commemorating the Bi-Centennial of the Chamber, took part in the spirit of the event and even donned his own 200-years-old hat. And underlining the developments in the port over those 2 centuries, the board of An Post and city dignitaries boarded the Bell Raider, a container vessel of the Waterford-based Bell Ferries, ships using the most sophisticated equipment, including satellite guidance. The Waterford stamp is at 24 pence and shows the 3 ships which are at the centre of the Chambers and indeed the city's coat of arms, a city built on trade. Mr. Quinn said the Chamber could take credit for being instrumental in creating a city, boasting some of the leading names of international trade. Other stamps issued today included the 28p stamp commemorating the Golden Jubilee of Muintir na Tíre and the centenary of its founder, Canon John Hayes. Mr. Quinn said Muintir was involved in a great variety of community projects, from rural electrification and group water supply to building community halls. It had a record of solid achievement based on local initiative and responsibility. A 39p stamp celebrates the founding 50 years ago of the medical missionaries of Mary in Drogheda by Mother Mary Martin. She had left a rich legacy powered by faith, kindness, inspiration and vision, showing that these were real elements for achieving a better world, said Mr. Quinn. And a 30p stamp commemorates the establishment of the Trinity College Botanic Gardens in 1687, 300 years ago. Mr. Quinn said that in line with the pioneering work of its curators down through the years, the garden today had a high international reputation and was widely used for botany teaching and valuable research. Earlier, after a meeting of the board of An Post in Waterford, Mr. Quinn had officially reopened the fully refurbished Waterford Central Post Office, a Victorian Gothic building on the city quayside.